So, I figured something out last week. I'm mad. I'm mad in every sense of the word. I'm so mad that you might even be feeling some of my madness. You might even be hearing noises you're not used to hearing, like a popping sound. Yeah, that doesn't exist. That's in your head. So if you hear that popping sound, no. You're just mad too. No, I'm kidding. We're actually doing a little bit of this video live on YouTube, and then people are leaving comments, and I don't know how to stop that yet. So, but it fits. It fits the madness, I think. I'm mad. And if you listen to last week's episodes, you kind of know where this is going a little bit, but I'm really going to run that way. I just think it's what it is. I'm mad. And I'm mad in every sense of the word. And there's two main senses of the word mad in American parlance. It's not really slang. We've kind of lost one of them. We say crazy instead. Lunatic, insane, out of your mind. Yeah, I am, I think. I'm going to talk about that today. And then I'm also angry. I'm not just angry. I think I'm really angry. I'm the popping. I'm like raging angry. So like you're small, puny angry maybe. I'm roaring, raging angry. Yeah, like Hulk. I'm Hulk angry. Strongest Avenger. I'm angry. And I think I want to talk about that today too, although that's maybe not as central to the long-term idea, but it kind of is. Because it's okay. This is like a Christian lie. It's not in Broken 7 Christian, what's it called? 7 Christian rules. That's it. That every Christian not to break. One of them wasn't, you're never allowed to be mad. It maybe should have been. Didn't really fit what the book was really about, but it is a Christian lie that you're never allowed to be angry. That's just not true. Or that anger is evil. Well, if anger is evil, then how can the good God ever be angry? How could Jesus be angry without sin? And you're like, yeah, but it was without sin. True. So therefore, anger itself can't be the sin. That's math. And you're right. Not everything is math in the Bible, but the Bible's pretty clear. God's wrath, that would be his anger, like the definition. So anger, amazingly, is an attribute of God. It is a godly thing. Now, I've wrestled with this years ago, and here's kind of the answer I came to on just how that is, what that means. How is anger good? Because how could anger ever be good? It always causes problems. You're right. The anger of man does not bring about the righteousness of God. That's also a quote from the Bible. The anger of man does not bring about the righteousness of God. So there's a problem with our anger and the way that it works. But that doesn't mean that anger itself is the problem. And again, so what is anger? When God gets angry, what makes God angry? There's only one thing in anything. It's not even really in the universe. It's infected the universe. The only one thing that anywhere is, though, that makes God angry is evil. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Nothing that's not evil makes God angry, and evil makes God angry. That's it. What does that mean? That means that God gets angry when good things don't happen. When right things don't happen, when blessings don't happen, when pleasure in the right way doesn't happen. God gets angry when just things, beautiful things, don't happen. That is, God gets angry at injustice, at unfairness, at evil. And if you think about it that way then, as this eternal attribute of God, God is always, for all eternity, angry at evil. That's kind of a good thing. I'm glad that God feels that way. Otherwise, he might be a bit more capricious, That wouldn't be fun. I mean, if you want to worship pagan gods who are capricious, you go for it, yeah? But not a fun thing. Risky. Maybe you get some barbarian super juju one afternoon, but then you're dead the next kind of thing. And yeah, who doesn't want barbarian super juju? I got you. But who wants to die the next day randomly because the god's like, I forgot about you. That sucks. Yeah. So anyway, I'm glad that God really just gets angry at injustice and prioritizes justice as goodness for all. With that then being what we know anger is in God, then we can know that when we get angry, this is an insight into what's going on in our heads. You get angry when you perceive an injustice. And that's actually a good thing. right? I mean, shouldn't we? I mean, you're right. The social justice warriors are angry, over angry perhaps, at all the injustices. But is the problem that they're mad about injustice? And I would say, no, not at all. We should all be mad about injustice. The question at hand is, how are we defining justice? And if we have misdefined justice, goodness, rightness, well, then we're going to be getting angry at things we believe are injustices, which in fact may be justices, may be goodness. We're going to get angry at things we think are evil, which may in fact be good. And then we may be getting rid of that good, thereby in the name of making it more evil and calling it good. The Bible talks about that too, Isaiah. That's what we do with our sin. And that's what we do then as an individual. Every time you get angry, it's because you perceive an injustice. Something happens that you don't believe is good. It's not right, it's not fair, it harms. Usually it's very self-centered, but not always. But you see this thing in the world does not go as good ought to go, and you're like, that is wrong, right? You're aware of it. You're aware that evil's wrong. You get mad about it. Now again, we're so petty that like we do this when we hit our own thumb with a hammer, right? And we're not angry at ourselves, right? We're angry at the universe, like the universe did it to you, right? Oh, universe, shake your fist at God. Oh, why, how'd you let this happen to me? I mean, you did it to yourself, dude. But I'm talking to me when I say that. I perceive that as being wrong. Now, interesting there. So as I'm blaming the God and the universe for the wrong that was me hitting my own thumb with a hammer, what am I really expecting of God and the universe? I'm expecting that God and the universe would allow the universe to go the way I desire it to go at every moment, which ultimately is my desire to be God. Right. So the moment I stub my toe and I go, curses, right? And, I get curses, right? That I might say that. I might say another word, and usually not just for the stub toe. If it gets bad enough, things tend to come out. But it doesn't matter. You say, oh, poopy pooey, chewy chewy, oh, pickly tinkly, it doesn't matter. You're still cussing. And you're cussing because you're angry. And you're angry because you're not God. Because if you were God, that wouldn't have happened. Right? And that's the problem. That's why the anger of man does not bring about the righteousness of God. That's it, right there. Because our anger is unjustly skewed to perceive justice as us being God. And that's not the way the world is. It's not true. And so we're angry all the time at the wrong stuff. That doesn't mean anger is bad. There's a beautiful verse in the Bible that goes like this. In your anger, do not sin. Pretty sure that's James, but I haven't looked recently. Look it up. Do I really need to quote the chapter and verse for you? Shouldn't you be testing me anyway? Shouldn't you be saying, does he really know his Bible? And then going and finding the verse yourself based on the words I said? Shouldn't the words be in the Bible? Shouldn't that be more important than the location in the Bible? I mean, I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying. If the author of the Hebrews can say it's written somewhere and we trust him, well, no, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should go look it up, right? I'm sorry, I'm tangenting here, but I'm actually angry about this because I've been accused of this, of not being a good Bible teacher because I don't quote don't quote chapter and verse. Well, so do you think if I said chapter and verse, it would make it more true? What if me saying chapter and verse convinced you that it was there when it wasn't there because you never went and looked? So maybe the key should be not where I tell you it is, but what I said and whether it's there. I mean, just float that one in your head for a little bit, yeah? Think about that. So, it is written somewhere. I think it's James. But, your Google Bible search really should help you these days. It's written somewhere in your anger. Do not sin. Which not only gives you the freedom as a Christian to be angry, and to know that the anger itself is not the sin. It may, in fact, be righteous, especially as a Christian with a mind renewed by the Spirit of God, living according to what the Word of God says, with your worldview, your head, your operating system for your life shifted to be in alignment with the Word of God. How could you not then look at the fallen world and at some point be angry and it's right? It's true. It's good. The anger is good. But then James says, whoa, slow down, slow down. Remember. Just because you actually are rightly and justly angry doesn't mean that you're going to handle it well or use it well or take the action that will benefit the world Because what you're going to want to do when you see injustice is you're going to take a sword and try to go stop the injustice. I'm going to stop it with a sword. Use the law. Fix it. Make it stop. Right? And there's a place for that. It's called government. It's not called vigilantism. And this goes for Christians too, just with their words. Amazingly, the madness of Christianity, we'll come back to this idea here at the end, or by the end, I hope. The madness of Christianity is that you don't fight with the sword. You don't go against the evil injustice with the law. You go with the gospel first, I would say. And if you want to yell about Walther, we can talk about Walther. He's talking about a completely different thing than I am right now. I'm talking about the first thing the world should hear the church saying is not, you're wrong for this reason. The first thing the world needs is to hear the fact that Jesus Christ is risen from the dead, and this is the justification of all mankind. That all evil has been swallowed alive and whole, but we have been spit out by that 3-day in the ground fish onto the land of prophecy by him. That mercy, that's what we're supposed to do with our anger, particularly with our anger. If you're ever going to go and enact justice with a sword, you better not be angry as you do it. You will do it wrong. The sword should be handled by calm, cool, collected men. The army knows this. If you've been in the army, you know this. You don't want anybody angry in the battlefield. The team's just going to fall apart. You're going to be doing things you don't want to be doing. Calm, cool, collected. That's what the sword needs. But anger happens when you see injustice. What's the tool for anger and injustice? It is mercy. It is mercy upon the other. That doesn't mean ignore it. It means seek their best, seek their good, love your enemy, pray for them, that kind of thing. But see, you can only do that if you're actually angry. You can't do that if you're never angry. You can only resist the temptation to sin, well, if sin comes to tempt you and pull you and try to show you the wrong way to go, to try to take your just anger and turn it into unjust action. So there's my apologia, my defense of anger. The Christians are allowed to be mad in the angry sense, and well, I am. And I am a lot. And I don't think if you knew me, I don't think my kids, well, maybe they do think I'm angry. I do yell sometimes. I might get mad about stupid stuff. I get mad about not stupid stuff too. So, kids, they're fun. They're a treat, and then they're not, and then they are. But that's a different thing. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't think that they would say, like, I walk out of my room, and unless I've been, my studio, unless I've been, podcasting, they're not running away and cowering in terror. If I've been podcasting, they might, because they know if they're loud enough multiple times in a row, I'll open that door and be angry. But normally, they're not hiding from me. They think I'm a friendly guy. We hang out, we play, we eat dinner together, all that. And so I think if you just met me on the street, or if you're in the congregation, if you're a congregation member, you listen to this, you don't think I'm an angry guy, right? You never get angry. Well, yeah, not often, at least in front of you guys. But that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about being like angry all the time. Although I kind of am in a sense, but it's not like this overriding emotion that is just conveying every edge of my life into rage. No, but there are a lot of things that I think I'm angry about, because there are a lot of injustices in the world and in the church that nobody believes are injustices. And I'm not even angry about those. I'm angry that we don't believe they're injustices. I'm angry that there's a certain self-satisfaction in Americanism, Christianity-ishness that is, well, it's its own kind of madness. It's its own kind of curse. And I'm pretty tired of that. Now, I know we're not going to be able to have a perfect world or a perfect place or perfect churches. Now, I can tell you the story of what someone said to me once when I was young pastor, and I was too zealous, but I was complaining about how the structure in the congregation didn't work. It was a mess. Attempting to do anything good for the congregation, like to the level of, there's a bathroom in the basement. It's the only one of 3 only bathrooms there are is the kids' bathroom, the only bathroom, and there is mold growing on the wall, and the light doesn't work, and it's been that way for years. and I couldn't get it cleaned. Not at least without just going in with my own hands and doing it. I probably would have gotten yelled at for that. Maybe not yelled at, but maybe. So I'm complaining to another pastor about it, like, dude, what is going on? And the answer I was given was, well, it's just the way it is. Congregations never work. See, that makes me angry now as I think about that. That's a lie. It's not true. If a group of 10 people or 50 people living together can't maintain a clean bathroom, then why do some places have clean bathrooms? And they're not government run, as if the government's the answer to all of this. Why is that? Because they have a slave? No, that's not it. It's because you can make some things work. And here's the thing that I really believe about this. This whole thing's not just about this, but this is one like really irks me a lot. If a group of complete, crass, unbelieving pagans, whatever they want to be, I mean, they're not sacrificing babies yet, but they kind of are, if you think about it. If they can have an organization that meets not weekly but daily, and feeds them in their belief in certain ways spiritually, provides for their care, body and soul, lifelong, hello Google, if that can exist, and not only do they have clean bathrooms, but the whole thing functions pretty effectively, even to the point of removing dissenting voices who oppose its doctrines. But the people who go there, who are not opposing, love it and want to be there and want everyone to be part of it in the whole world. Well, then why can't Christians manage a building that's used by 200 people to kind of be the same way? Not in a fascist totalitarian way. I'm not talking about that. But shouldn't we be able to get stuff done? No, congregations never work. Why? God cursed us with disorder? No. So I'm angry about that. And I'm angry that no one's talking about that. I'm angry that there's not an answer for that. The answer is just to let it be and just kind of do what we've done. Oh, well, we have our Constitution. We've got to keep it. We wrote most of those things in the 80s. They were a new idea the way they were. They were built upon an older structure that's much better. The older constitutions are way better, way less demanding, way more focused on our faith. So don't tell me the Constitution's the answer. Bylaws, geez. But certainly, there's a problem there. And then it makes me angry. I'm mad. I'm a mad Christian. But the thing is, bye-bye YouTube. If you want more, catch the podcast. The thing is, I'm not just mad in the angry sense about a whole bunch of stuff. Where's my list? I should get my list while I'm talking to you. Oh, as soon as I turn off the YouTube, now I lose track. I'm going to get my list of my idea that I really like. And where'd I put it? I think it's here. Everbook, come to my rescue. I got to look through. It's going to be right there. I'm mad that most of my life I couldn't sleep, and there was an answer, and no one told me. And that Christians never talk about things like that. That we think that doesn't belong in the faith, helping people in that way, figuring out things that are really obvious, if only we knew. I'm mad about, in that sense, like nutrition in general in the world, that this just doesn't matter to us for some reason. Because the thing is, you're right, it's just your body. You're right, it's just your body, it's not your faith. That's kind of mostly true. But it's, your body affects your emotions. So when you're battling, say, depression, as I have and do usually, but not as much recently, maybe the things that go into your body are impacting you quite a bit. And if you're battling depression, don't tell me that in a spiritual battle when it happens. Don't tell me it doesn't make you struggle in your faith in ways that maybe don't have to be there. Maybe are distractions from the real tentatio you should be facing in your life. So I'm mad that we don't talk about it. It's just no, it doesn't matter. Body management, is connected to this. We don't talk about college. Just the cost. Oh, it's going to cost so much. It's assumed we're all going to college. Well, okay, cool. Maybe a long time ago. What? Debt, finances, the loss of income, gap wages, not so much between men and women, but between, everybody and everybody. We're not talking about yoga because there's dangers in yoga, but we're not talking about the benefits of stretching and breathing, and so people are just going and doing that instead of church because we don't even know like how to deal. We just ignore it. All we can do is ignore it. There's no real Christian understanding of how to engage or interact with the mindfulness culture that's arising to train brains to relax and have peace. I'm not saying this is what Christianity should be teaching, but shouldn't we as Christians sort of like have a viewpoint on this stuff? I mean, we don't even know history. I'm mad that we don't know history. I'm mad that we don't have a preparation for understanding the value or disvalue of altered states of consciousness. Illinois just legalized pot, marijuana, Mary Jane, the reefer, the chronic. going, back to Cali for the women and the weed. Brings back a few memories for me. Other times, other places. I've got an interesting crisis of conscience on my hands now. I was always able, after having left marijuana behind, to kind of rest in the comfort that it was illegal. And so, if someone asked me the question, Pastor, can I do this? I had a really easy answer. And somewhat I had that answer from myself, and my own little escape from whatever self-medication I was doing back then. But I'll tell you that when I stopped self-medicating with marijuana way back, I didn't stop self-medicating with stuff. And there's a lot of stuff you can use. I'm not going to go into all of that right now. But, well, here's the thing now. It's legal, and it's here. And if we don't have a way to talk about it, good or ill, and how can we talk about it if we don't know anything about it, good or ill? Well, that just means people are going to do it. That's what it means. And maybe they should. Maybe they can. Because one of the things that I have found most interesting in my reading on this matter is the discussion about the reality of altered states of mind. I listened to a book on Audible called Stealing Fire. Very fascinating. It picks up on a number of things that Tim Ferriss has talked about in research he has given his own money to try to achieve, mostly to try to deal with depression, to find new ways of helping people who are in permanently depressed states. And this entire set of research is centered on, you're going to just go crazy on this one. Literally LSD. Right? Hallucinogenic psilocybin mushrooms and or LSD and other such substances, which research is now very, very slowly beginning to show, when not taken on a dosage that makes you trip, but instead, well, they call it a micro dose, so small that you don't really notice any results. Would you believe it or not, it handles depression pretty well, it would seem. And it doesn't have any of the side effects of the other stuff they're putting in us. If you take those other pills, good. If you got to, you got to. I've done it too. It's been a while, but I've done it too. Side effects aren't the best things ever, right? Now here's the thing. So what? So mushrooms are bad? Can we just say mushrooms are bad? What happens if we discover that a plant, it's not a plant, a fungi, particular fungi given in very small doses helps people who struggle spiritually with depression? Hey, what do we do about that? So we can't just say altered states are bad. And if you say altered states are bad, so why do you drink coffee then? Because coffee is an altered state of mind, which in fact can be bad. It really can. I mean, you can damage. I've had to slow down on mine. I haven't tested this yet today. Hold on. I've really slowed down on my coffee intake, although I've been drinking decaf. And the reason for that is I discovered after 3 trips to regular doctors for just, random regular reasons, that my blood pressure was like really high. Not like deadly high, but like high for me. And I didn't know why. And so I was doing all sorts of stuff trying to go, what's causing my blood pressure to go up? And I figured it out. Well, if I drink a grande coffee right before I have my blood pressure taken, it spikes by like 25 points on each number. What? That's a heck of a thing. It's caffeine. I looked it up. Yeah, caffeine can do that to you. So I went cold turkey for a bit there. Took caffeine entirely out of the diet. Didn't miss it for another reason. It has a lot more to do with the other nutrition stuff I've been messing with recently. And so I'm watching my blood pressure meter. I have a handle. So 126/82. Yeah, right now. This morning I have had, what is that? That's about 6.5, 8 ounces of half calf. Wow. See, that's so different. My normal blood pressure is like 106 over 72, something like that, and which is really where you want it to be. The doctor would still say that, this under 130 and under 85 is normal. They just say that because everyone's in such a bad state right now that if they told us all we're about to die, we'd all get afraid, and then they give us drugs. Well, whatever. If that's what you want to do, fine. We should talk about these things. That's my point again. So here I am. I'm testing a half calf, and clearly a half calf. Say boom, and I've been drinking this since it was 8 ounces over 2.5 hours. So trying to take it real slow. Boom. Blood pressure skyrockets. Crazy that. Altered state. Coffee's an altered state. Alcohol is an altered state. I love a good IPA. No. A warm afternoon. I prefer not to be too hot because I don't want the beer to get warm. But sitting there and, here in Rockford, we got a little brewery right on the river, the outside seat. Sit there on the river. Sip that beer, do a little reading, do a little writing. Oh, it's just marvelous. Half a block from heaven in an altered state. So there's an altered state. So altered states can't be wrong by themselves. Do you know, and this is true too, frankly, when you sleep, you're in an altered state. When you eat bread, when you eat wheat, you go into an altered state. Did you know this? Did you know wheat's an opiate? That's some crazy stuff right there. I'll just leave that there and not answer it for later. But I'm mad about that, honestly. That's a different thing. So altered state. So pot is wrong because it's an altered state? Well, I can't say that either. So what am I going to do with my 16 and 15 and 14 and 21 and 32-year-old and 56-year-old people when they come to me as pastor and say it's legal now? And I know like everyone else here says you can't do it, but I used to do it a lot and I kind of miss it. What can I do it? What am I supposed to say? Why are we not prepared for this, people? LCMS? That's why I'm mad. We don't even talk about it. Socialism. Do you know C.F.W. Walther wrote a pamphlet? I did this a lot in the podcast last week, so you have to know this. He has like a book on socialism and how bad it is. And I face other Lutherans today saying, you can't talk about that. It's politics in the pulpit. I don't talk about it in the pulpit. But really, when you become a Christian, you're not allowed to have opinions on political things and how government works and how government doesn't work, particularly historically, over and over again. So if we can say that, say, Nazism is wrong, we can also say that socialism is wrong. You know how you figure these things out? You look at what they did in the past, and if it happens regularly like that, then that's how it works. And frankly, Nazism has been tried less than socialism. I'm not advocating we try that again, by no means, but if you're going to then say we shouldn't do it, look what they did. Yeah, right, so how about we just maybe learn that Venezuela is not an accident? But are we even prepared? Do we even know what socialism is? Our children don't. I don't know if I did until I started getting nervous because Bernie was saying weird stuff and started reading about it. Oh, man. That's the best part. That's the best part. The guy preaching socialism has 3 houses. Love it. Love it. Anyway, different thing. I'm mad that we're not talking about political ideology. We should. We should know what it is. We're American citizens. Our duty is to know it so that we can vote. It doesn't mean you have to choose a party, although sadly it's getting weirder on that level, but forget that for now. Okay, so I'm mad about, mentioned sleep already. Parenting, I've done a bunch of talking on parenting, but I'm really mad about the parenting going on in my generation to the kids. Oh my goodness. I am terrified of this next set when they're like in charge of stuff, because we're going to be like 70 and they're going to like have their finger on the trigger, and I'm not sure they can do it, people. They're so snowflake and like lazy, and they're going to have worse health than we do. And I mean, how many of you are 40 and having health problems that your parents didn't have till they were 60 or 70? Raise your hand. Well, that'd be me. That'd be my wife. It'd be like a lot of people I'm running into. Why is that? Why aren't we talking about that? And why? Well, you think our kids are going to be in better health? What if we're still taking care of them at that point? And they're still yelling at us like they're still 6, like they do when they're 14 now. I'm mad about that because I'm working with mine, trying, and I'm not sure. I love you. I forgive you. I'll stand by you. That's okay. But I'm not sure I want to deal with yours, depending. And some of them aren't so bad. But, Did I tell the story here? I know I preached about it, about the two kids in the bathroom at a restaurant. That I tried to be nice to these three young men, and the dude, like, he's like 12. He got all hard on me. He's like, he's gonna start a fight with me, and I was just like, it's all right, man. It's all good. It was all over. Like, they were joking about, or they were talking about how he hadn't changed his socks in like 3 days. And I just looked at him and I just kind of laughed. It's like, all right, man. And he's like, what? I was like, it probably will smell. He's like, that's how we do it in LA. And I was like, well, that's cool. Right on, have a good day. And I got out of the bathroom because, I mean, I don't know. Could I take 3 12-year-olds if they jump me? I think I probably could. I mean, they're quicker, but they're big enough they're that fast, and they're really scrawny. And I got the old man strength going for me at this point, so I don't know. But I didn't want to do it because that's wrong, right? I have no idea, no desire to do that. So I get out of there. But like look at that, right? Like, who is this? What world do we live in? This wasn't McDonald's. I was paying $50 for this meal for 2 people. What on earth? You know? So yeah, parenting. Minimalism. I don't care if you're a minimalist or not, but like we all can agree that hoarding's wrong, right? Can we agree hoarding's an illness in some sense? And that we live in a world that makes it easier and actually tries to turn you into a hoarder if it can? Can we accept that the more I almost said the wrong word. Can we accept the idea that the more crud? See, this is the problem with cussing. What if that's the only word that actually conveys the real meaning of the thing? I mean, what do you call all of the stuff in your house that you don't like, that you don't use, that's in the way all the time? What's the right word for that? Stuff is not it. I have good stuff. Bad stuff. What word do we have for describing things? The trash in your house. Well, then you think I just mean garbage, right? So what word do we have? I don't know if there's a word. I'm mad about that too. I'm mad that we think cussing is the wrong thing. We think cussing is German-influenced English words. All the words that we think are bad that are not from the Bible are German-based verbs. And it has everything to do with the French dominating the Anglo-Saxons on the British Isles for about 200 years. Where they weren't French, they were Normans at that point. But they spoke, Proto-French, and that influenced English a lot. And all the words that they gave the language, they're the right words, they're the proper words, because we are the nobles with our French words. And all those plebeian Germans down there working with the swine in the mud, they got the gutter talk, a very verbal language. And so now we got a couple of verbs and particular nouns that just are bad words. They're bad words. But say poopy instead. That's a good word. Feces, that's perfectly okay. You hear the Latin in that one? That's the French. Well, feces is beautiful and good and correct and knowledgeable and scientific. And the word that Luther used to say, actually in sermons, well, that word's cursing somehow. I'm mad about that. Stupid people. I mean, I'm not saying go say it everywhere. You got to understand context when you're talking. I didn't say it, did I? But like, why is that the thing we're worried about? When people are calling things that are not Jesus, Jesus, that's cursing. That's cursing. That wasn't even what I'm talking about. Minimalism. So all this bad stuff in your house, the many, many things that are poopy and feces that remain there that aren't actually poopy and feces. They're the stuff that is all over your house and you don't like it and you don't really want it. And every time you see it, you kind of feel guilty or you hate it. And it wears you down. It slows you down. It is a mental drain on you. You feel tired all the time. Every time you look at your wall or your floor or your desk, you're like, oh, I'm exhausted. Well, why is that like something we're like, but it has to be that way? Because that's all minimalism is. It's not getting rid of everything and living with nothing. It's just being like, oh, I can throw stuff away and it's okay. It's not a virtue to keep every piece of poopy ever. Oh, Oh, and now, well, look at that. I don't have to waste as much space, and I kind of feel kind of better. It kind of feels good to clean, honestly. You get it done, and like alleviates mental pressure, all this kind of stuff. Like, I'm mad that churches especially don't do this. You know how much poopy is in your average local congregation building? You know how much absolutely worthless trash has been stored and kept just in case someone might get angry if we threw it away? It is insane. It is maddening. Absolutely maddening to me. The things, we did a big clean out of a garage here, and everyone was a little nervous about it. Because like, who's going to get mad? Who's going to get mad? Who's going to get mad? This garage, we didn't put anything back in this garage. This garage smells so bad. There is something living or growing or dead in this garage, in the walls. We are going to have to spend money to have somebody come in and do something to that garage before we can use it. The stuff we found in there was beyond imagination. Just the randomest of all things you could ever imagine. And we threw it was all thrown away. There was a grill we kept, there was a shovel. I mean, it was very, very little. That's the garage, right? Now, don't look above the stage into the rafters. Don't go into that closet that hasn't been open in 20 years. What's on that shelf up there? I've never been up there. I don't know. But you're in charge. Yeah, I know. I've never looked at that. That was there when I got here. Well, why? And then it's not that big a deal in a sense, but it's the question. Why do we think that keeping stuff in our way is a virtue? Why is that? Why don't we talk about it? Why don't we have a way of talking about it? And why don't we realize that you can actually help somebody alleviate pressure in their life and focus on the things that matter in their life more by, learning how to just throw stuff away instead of keep it. It's an amazing tool. It's first article. A lot of this is first article, right? I haven't said that yet, right? I'm mad that we don't have the first article anymore. Everyone's yelling about the third use of the law. Oh, the third. We talked about this last week too. But the third use of the law. Oh, we don't have enough of that. No, we just don't believe in the first article. We don't believe in it. Yeah, God made it all, but not really. Not in a way that it really is still here and like to know it is to know God. And yes, the God of the law is the God of wrath. Well, third use, that's first use. We don't believe in that at all. That it applies to Christians at all. And we just dismiss it when we don't like it. Well, that's problematic. That means we don't really believe in the Father. Not as the Father. And Jesus is not here to hide the Father from us. He's here that we might know the Father. That we might love the world he made, understand the beauty and the glory and the way that things work. So I'm mad about this. I'm really mad about this. I think it's why it's not the main reason we're falling apart as Christians is because we don't believe in the Lord's Supper. But might I suggest that, and this is just hypothesis, that we don't believe in the Lord's Supper in part because we don't believe in the first article. I don't know. I have to think about that one more. Time management. I'm mad that wasn't ever taught to me at all. I was just talking to my wife this morning about God bless you if you're in this group. There is a local homeschooling community. There's several of them. We're homeschoolers, and we don't really do the like group thing though. We're mavericks here, but there are certain things you can't really do with 4 girls spread across almost 10 years and a boy, like have a basketball team. Right? It's not really going to work out. So sports need some help. So we try to find different ways to get our kids involved without being crazy. and 9 months of volleyball every weekend far away. We don't have the money for that. Jeez, let alone the time. Even if I had the money, I don't know if I'd have to hire a butler to go with her or something. I don't get that. So we're trying to get involved in this homeschool group locally for volleyball this fall. And apparently the first day is August 1st, but there's no web information. The people whose numbers we have, we called, they don't call us back. There's supposed to be a physical that's gotten somehow, and we're trying, but then our doctor won't see our kids until after their other physical's over, which is September 9th. And so it's like, we don't really know what's going on. And as a result of this, my wife and I were just chatting a little bit this morning about, what makes that happen? How do you get to a point as an organization when that happens? Because this group is devoted to, and this is awesome, I'm not against this, they're devoted to classical learning. That's part of the thing. It's we're going to learn the classics in the classical way. That's awesome. That's good. We want to have well-educated, well-rounded, problem-solving, self-thinking people. People of books. We want that. But they've seemed to miss the book on time management for some reason, and I don't know why they think that's not a classical idea. Because there was time management in classical thought. We don't translate or keep those books, and maybe we shouldn't, because it's really advanced quite a ways. I mean, I shared how Ben Mays, I think it was, at a conference a while back, quite a ways back, gave a paper on Martin Chemnitz' and Johann Gerhard's information management system. It was insane the way they tracked their quotations, everything they read. They were keeping notebooks with cross-referenced systems. It wasn't shorthand, but it was all kind of coded so we could go find it. It was crazy what they were doing. Well, they didn't teach that in the classical homeschool, not at all. I don't know they should. It might be a little overkill, maybe, but if you really want to have that many quotes, I mean, that's why Ben was studying it. He's like, how can I do this? Well, so time management. I'm mad that we don't use time management. I'm mad that we think voters' meetings are times to air grievances. See, voters' meetings exist to do business, to make official decisions that must be made, and we need the group to make them for them to be legal. That's what it's for. If you got a problem with something, that's not what the voters' meeting's for. That's what your pastor's door is for, or his phone number is for. That's what your head elder is for. That's what the secretary's for. Not the voters' meeting. Or we go to other meetings and we don't, have an agenda, and we just float and talk and argue. This is like disrespectful to you. You want to waste your time in 2.5, 3 hour meetings not doing anything once a month or more? I mean, I'm a pastor. I don't want to do it twice a week or more, which is often the case. But really? Like, do we have to do it this way? Why aren't we talking about this? Doesn't time matter? Isn't the biggest felt need the world has right now time? Maybe Christianity has something to say about that. And maybe Christianity's most powerful thing it could say is that if you study this, there's answers. Because that's Christianity. Christianity believes in the first article. Oh, man. Chemical things in your bodies, from birth control to big pharma to what pesticides. I don't care what your position is. We should talk about it. Shouldn't we study that and know that? TV, internet impact on learning. You notice how where did I hear this recently? You probably hadn't noticed, and I haven't researched this one. I haven't fact checked it, but companies like Apple that are putting iPads in every classroom. If you track where the kids of those leaders go to school, they're to tech-free schools, like intentionally tech-free schools. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Demography, I've talked about this in the past. We're not having kids, and it's bigger than just that. The world's not having kids. It's going to impact not just culture, it's going to impact the economy in massive ways by 2050. 2050, we're like at the peak or past the peak. So it's going to keep rising like through some of our lifetime, but it's going to stop. And then it's going to reverse, and there's no turning it back once it does. There's no like, hey, start having kids now. Nope, it's not going to work that way. You're either growing semi-exponentially or you're shrinking semi-exponentially. So what happens when all the roles we've developed to make this giant system work aren't there? Well, it's the same thing that we see happening now in a lot of churches, where the capacity of the structure and the cost of the building are bigger than the congregation can afford. Well, what happens when that happens to your city, in your nation, and the planet? That's demography. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, the future of exchange, and then I don't even know, soil, the value of dirt and how nearly irreplaceable it is, and how much of it we've used and is gone. That's a whole other thing. I just began learning about that one. So I'm mad about all this stuff. I'm really mad. All right. And maybe you're not. Maybe you are. I'm mad that we're not talking about it, though. I'm not mad about each piece individually. I'm mad that the church is at such a point where we are so irrelevant to the culture, in part because we've tried so hard to be relevant to the culture, that we don't even know what's going on anymore. We just, either you sit back and you let NBC tell you what to do, or you let Fox tell you what to do, and then you just live the life that they've planned for you. And I can't imagine how that's good for our faith. I can't. Yeah, I go once a week, twice a week to church, and I learn about the history of the Bible. Good. then at least you're going to have faith. But if that has never become something that causes you to question what everyone else is saying in the world about how the world is not mad, then you've just gone mad with the world. And you haven't even known it. Because the biggest thing about going mad with the world is that you do not see it. You don't see it. Deuteronomy 28 talks about how insanity is a curse that the Lord sends upon those who reject him. And in specific, there is the people of Israel, right? The nation of Israel, the Sinaitic covenant. And he's listing off all the ways that they will no longer be blessed. Because their blessings were things like, your crops are going to grow, you won't have any famines, you're going to be sane, you're going to be healthy. But if they rejected him, they would be defeated before their enemies. I love this. You'll go out one way, but flee seven. You will be a horror among the kingdoms of the earth, and not because they're afraid of you. They're going to pity you. Your dead body shall be food for the air, or for the birds of the air. No one will chase them away. The Lord will strike you with boils, tumors, scabs. You cannot be healed. And then verse 28. This is chapter 28. Deuteronomy 28:28. The Lord will strike you with madness and blindness and the confusion of your mind. And you shall grope at noonday as the blind grope in darkness, and you shall not prosper in your ways. You shall only be oppressed and robbed continually, and there shall be no one to help you. Sounds like America to me. Not because there's some sort of special curse on us, just it sounds like Christianity in America today. So a lot of people sit around and say, how'd this happen? What's going on? Why is this? I don't understand. Oh, but don't ask me to change. Don't ask me to believe that I've made a mistake. Don't ask me to believe that I've rejected a particular truth of Christianity. I've been in church my whole life. No way have I in any way ever done anything wrong. Blind. Why are our kids all falling away? It can't be our fault. It can't be our youth groups. No way. It can't be Sunday school. No, that's all good. They need that. Why are they falling away? I don't get it. Blind. And I'm not blaming Sunday school per se, teaching children in a group, although it's hard. I'm not blaming youth group per se. But, if we're not going to question it. This Proverbs said so many times, it's not a Christian proverb, but it said so many times it's a, I'm going to lose it now. It's a platitude. It's a platitude. Like you say it doesn't even mean anything now. It's Einstein, I think, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. He's right. That's not just quirky and quick and clever. That's exactly what it is. That is insanity. It's a plague. It's a plague of unbelief. And I would submit to you, mad Christian that I am, that it is a plague of unbelief, particularly related to the first article. Of course, the second article, unbelieved, leads to not believing the first article either. So there's that. It's a curse. You see this curse poured out upon Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Did he ever become a Christian? I really do think he did through this process. We did this back in the Daniel stuff, which, God willing, will come back one day. He is so proud of himself, so full of himself, so completely lifted up high that he goes mad. He goes insane. And he wanders out into the fields and lives like a cow for years. Now, however that happened, and we explore this in the story, is really kind of fun, I think. And I do like the idea that he saw a vision of reality. He saw his own kingdom destroyed long after. God gave him a moment where he saw the future of his just demolished desert, because that place is a desert now. And it does have to do with soil and desertification and overcropping. So that's an interesting little tie-in right there. But he saw that. He saw it beforehand because it was a garden at that point. Yeah, Babylon was a garden among rivers. Man, go look at the pictures now. It's not. And it has a lot to do with how you farm. he saw that, and in a moment, he didn't even know how to he came back to reality. He had no idea how to process it, right? What is life? And he just wandered out into the grass. But that was God's curse upon him. That was God's curse upon him, that madness, that chaos. You got other interesting things. Oh, I got one more here of that. And then you got Saul, right? King Saul. King Saul is driven insane when the Lord rejects him. And this is a terrifying, terrifying thing. A guy who definitely had faith and is the Lord's Christ and is sent out by the Lord to be the image of his eventual full Jesus Christ. And yet because he decides that he has never done anything wrong, has no need of repentance, and excoriates a prophet of God who calls him to repentance, the Lord rejects him in that arrogance and never returns. The Holy Spirit of God leaves him. That's in 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 14. It says, "The Spirit of the Lord, the Spirit of Yahweh, departed from Saul, and a harmful spirit from the Lord tormented him." Now, this is really interesting. So the Holy Spirit is taken from him, but just not that. God also sends upon him a demon to drive him mad. And when they talk to him about this, like, you're not being sane right now, O king. Who was bold enough to say that? I don't know. But they're like, how about what if we found someone to like play some hip hop tunes? Yeah, come in and like jive for you here, right? Get it going. Slow you down, get you up, and you can lie back and have someone play the harp. So they go out to find someone. Wouldn't you know? They find the son of Jesse the Bethlehemite, skillful, a man of valor, man of war, prudent in speech, of good presence, and Yahweh the Lord is with him. You know this guy, David. They bring him. They take him into the king's house, and David remains there to play his instrument. And Saul loved him. This is interesting too. Saul loved him greatly. He became his armor bearer. And Saul said, "Let David remain. He's found favor." And whenever that harmful spirit, the madness, was upon Saul, David took the lyre, played it with his hands. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the harmful spirit departed from him. Doesn't say the Holy Spirit came back, although David did sing words of the Lord, which is interesting. Is Saul among the prophets? So it is said somewhere in the Bible. It's this question. I think the answer is probably not. Probably not. So, chapter 19, the madness of Saul gets to be a little too much, though. He goes from like loving David to David's playing. Now he's through into spirit. David, go away, David. I hate you. And this has to do with he knows David's going to surpass him, that he's been anointed to be king eventually, and he thinks he can fight God, which is, again, the definition of insanity, and he never changes it, never goes a different direction, tries to kill David, has a plot to kill David. Eventually, David flees because Jonathan, the son of Saul, who's a pretty good guy, my namesake, by the way, he warns David, because they're gay lovers. No, really? Really? That's the best you can do? Like you have a friendship and all you can make of it is sexuality? Man alive. Anyway, I'm so like flabbergasted by the audacity of that kind of thought. How without careful thought it really is at the end of the day. It's like, is it grasping for anything to prove your point? Like that's your argument? Really? Like, shouldn't you have like something really clear and descriptive, not descriptive and prescriptive, and a definition of marriage maybe that would be like, include that idea. Jeez. Anyway, Jonathan, his buddy, good friends, lifelong friends, willing to die together, fought together in battle. I mean, these are battle mates, right? He warns David. David flees. And from there, you get so much good story in this when David flees, that he ends up running off, has to go through, I'm skipping ahead here, I got the wrong chapter open. Chapter 21, he flees to Nob, where Ahimelech, the priest, meets him, says, "Are you alone?" And he gives him some of the bread of the presence, which you're not supposed to eat. Jesus brings this up later. And he lets him eat it, and then sends him on. This causes some problem later. Saul will kill some priests and things because of this. And he rose and fled that day. Now we're down in verse 10 from Saul and went to Achish, the king of Gath. And the servants of Achish said to him, "Is this not David, the king of the land?" Now that's interesting. He wasn't king, but he'd been leading their armies for a while, right? He was at the front. They had been saying about David, "Saul has struck down his thousands, but David his tens of thousands." So, he's a mighty man of war. Well, David took these words to heart. He's like in the king's presence, right? He's among them in the council, and he's their enemy, and he's fled there for help. And some people are like, "No, wait, this guy's the guy. Kill him, kill him now, right? You got him, kill him." And so he's afraid of this, and so he begins to pretend that he's mad, that he's insane. Insane in the membrane. There's the chronic. Jeez, that goes back. Anyway, they pretend that he's insane. And, I see. I got thrown off by the words "in their hands." So, he made marks on the door of the gate. So he starts like carving weird shapes in the walls, right? And then he's like just drooling everywhere he goes, all over his beard, and maybe, I don't know what, rolling his eyes, right? Oh, hey guys. He put on a feigned act. For years, it sounds like. Months, weeks, I don't know. Time. And the result of this feigned act was such that Achish, king of Gath, said, "Dude, guys, seriously, look, the man is insane. He is a stumbling, bumbling beggar who has clearly been driven away from where he is. So what do you want me to do? You want me to kill an insane, an invalid? Such euthanasia would be murder. I won't do that. I'm a pagan, but I'm no pagan. And I love it. Do I lack crazy men among you idiots, that you brought him in to like stand here too? Like, don't I have enough to deal with you guys? Can we just like let the guy live with the pigs or whatever? Shall he really be part of my house?" Now this story is interesting to me because I'm just trying to track in madness in the Bible and the ideas behind it, craziness in the Bible. And the curse of craziness in the Bible, and how everyone kind of knows that to be crazy is a curse. And David willingly is crazy. Is it just to save his own skin? Is it to save his nation? His faith? I think the answer is yes. I don't think that we learn from this, like, well, go out and pretend to be crazy in ways you're not. But I do think we learn from it that the man of God has nothing to fear from being crazy. Nothing to fear from standing apart, being on the outside, looking odd. See how they die, the Romans said of the Christians, because they died in crazy ways. They were being turned into living torches to light the parties. And they didn't try to run. They didn't scream. They just let it be. They prayed. They trusted, and they died in extreme pain. There's three ways I don't want to die. So, many years from now, when persecution has befallen us, and you capture me and my little militia movement of retreat into the hills for church purposes. I have no idea. I really don't want to start a cult. That's like God help us, let us not become cultists. But when you capture me, you will have this particular recording to know the worst. What does Fisk fear most? And it's not really like some random fear. It's just science. These are like the worst ways to die. Two of them are, at least. The other one just, you'll imagine. So the first one would be burning alive. That is a terrifying and terrible thing. It doesn't go fast, and it hurts right away. You've been too close to a fire without it being on fire, and you know that hurts, right? So now just imagine you're on fire, and you're not going to die in the first 5 minutes. You're going to scream. It's going to hurt. 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 I'll be praying, "Our Father who art in heaven." I believe in Jesus Christ. I would say in the creed. That's where I'll be. But, hooey. Lord have mercy. Please no. And drowning sucks too. Drowning, you drown. The description of it is that like your face ends up kind of blowing up because you swallow the water eventually, so you're going to choke and you want to cough, but you can't cough. So imagine having to cough, but rather than having any ability to, you're going to have a gag reflex going, but instead it's all going to be shoving down into you. You're still not dead yet. This is going to take a few seconds at least. God, Lord have mercy. And then being sawn in two, like Isaiah, that one, think how slow that would be. I mean, with a buzzsaw, it'd be pretty quick, but that wasn't a buzzsaw. I think like those big tree ones, back and forth. Yikes. Those are all ways Christians have died, by the way. Yeah. Being Christian won't stop those things. Being wise to the world might stop some of them, though. When you see the day coming, and when you see the abomination that is desolation, flee to the mountains. Well, that was about the early Christians just getting out of Jerusalem, right? You don't have to stay where they're going to kill you. You can walk. It's allowed, right? Don't seek martyrdom. So, I mean, well, there's no reason why we have to just sit there and let them kill us. We're not supposed to, well, shoot them personally, attack them individually. Although if you're a city and an invading city comes to attack you, well, then you are. So it's kind of a fine line there. And yeah, separation between church and state, sure. I would agree, generally speaking, with that. The priest does not priest by being king, but I don't think that means that the king should not be a man who knows his faith or can confess it or even preach it, nor do I think that the city should not have or could not have faith. Maybe not all of it. And I don't think we should burn the people who don't have it, right? But like the idea that somehow you shouldn't strive to have a community that's a community of believers, that's really weird to me, right? Why shouldn't your congregation sort of be a village? Because we all have other lives. Right. So who's mad? Who's crazy in that picture? The person who says maybe the church should be the center of the Christians' lives, even though it's not the center of American life. Or the person who says we can live the American life without the church as the center of our lives and Christianity will be fine. Who's mad? Who's crazy? So if you want to call me crazy for that one, go for it. Go for it. I'll take it. I'm the mad Christian now. Straight up. Yeah. I'm not pretending. No. And that's what we can learn from David. Don't pretend. Why pretend? Why pretend that what we are saying is not absolutely audacious? It is radical. There's all, the 30 of the law guys are fighting against the radical gospel guys. Oh, the gospel's not radical. What are you talking about? The gospel's so radical. The law is too, frankly, if you believe it. Although it's knowable and scientific too, which makes it awesome. But the gospel's so radical. It's so unbelievable. And what the radical Christian guys are all about is it's really making it clear that you shouldn't undo the gospel with the law just because you're worried about some evil people misusing the gospel. And I'm with them on that one. I'm not with them on not calling evil sometimes when some, in their name, I don't know, have. Yeah, that's not helpful, right? We really shouldn't do that. Whatever, that debate, I don't care about that debate. That debate is misguided, people. That debate is on the wrong side of that's on the wrong side of the history of the church. That debate is a distraction. Should we debate the specifics of evils that are not being called evils? Yes. That's kind of what I'm saying we should be doing. I didn't put marriage down on my list because we've talked about that one enough, but it is a thing. It is true. What we don't talk about enough in marriage is not how men shouldn't be doing things that harm the anal sphincters of other men, nor cows, nor boys and children and all this kind of stuff. We've talked that one through, and it's not really stopping anything. And a lot of that stuff that last part was gross, Pastor Fisk. Yeah, well, it's still coming, so hold your breath here. Goodness. I remember, sorry, distraction. I remember getting kind of laughed out of and chided by 7th grade parents. It was only in 2007 for warning the confirmands that it wasn't going to stop with homosexuality and that it would probably move on to other things. I also had taught the confirmands that when you have an abortion, if they do it a certain way, you inject acid into the womb, which then basically burns the baby alive. And one mother didn't want her 7th grader, actually it was a 5th grader, didn't want her 5th grader knowing this. She was so upset with me about this. She says she's horrified by it now. Dear God, I said, yes, she is, and thank God for it. She should be horrified. Why should she not be horrified by abortion? Anyway, we've talked about abortion. Good for us. There's more. There's so much more that I got distracted from the one I was talking about. Marriage. Oh, marriage. This is not necessarily wrong, but it is foolish. It is foolish that at the time in life when our young Christians are most prepared to get married, we tell them they can't. And by most prepared, I mean not only did God create them to almost unstoppably have sex. Like, by superhuman strength alone can the 19 or 20-year-old male not. God made it that way. No, wait till you're 30. What? What? That's what they're thinking. They're thinking, thank God for porn. That's what they're thinking. Don't do porn either. What? Right? Why? I'll try. And then what do we expect from these guys? And the girls too. Honestly, girls aren't so far away. That's weird. That's a weird one that's going to change now. The poor young women right now, they don't even want marriage. They don't want kids. I'm talking about like the 7th graders. They are in a weird place. And that ain't because what the church is doing. It's what the church is not doing. It's what the world's doing. And it's just happening to them too, along with everybody else. Different thing. But it is weird. Who's mad? Who's mad? You tell me. Who's mad? The one who says, when God made your bodies to get married, and you find someone who shares the same faith for you and has the same life goals as you, you should get married as soon as possible so that you can satisfy the flesh in a healthy, godly way and prepare for life together with children. Is that person mad? Or is the person who says, no, you can't do any of that until you have enough of a solidified debt, until you are in debt at least $200,000 or so. That's what we mean. Buy a house, right? Be in debt around $200,000 or so, and have a job that you cannot quit for your other debt, which is the college loans that you have, and the car loan that you have, and the lifestyle of eating out as often and partying and whatever, buying that stuff that you have. Once you've achieved all of that distraction in your life, now try to find a spouse. When also, numerically speaking, any man worth marrying is actually already married. So if you're a lady and you're 30, the vast percentage, 80%, 90%. Go YouTube search the economics of sex. This ain't me. This ain't Christianity. This is just science. The economics of sex. The guys who are worth marrying are gone by 30. Generally speaking, there's some good ones. They're quiet. They're introverted. They're nerds. They're not the ones you probably wanted or thought you wanted. So that you have a learning curve now. So don't give up hope. I'm not saying that. But I am saying, like, why would we say wait till then? And guys, well, guys, if you're a 30-year-old eligible bachelor, you're actually a pretty hot commodity for the good ladies. So there is that. You can handle it better at that point. But, well, I should say, you're a hot commodity for the over 30 ladies, which may involve things like, well, they don't look like they're 20 anymore. And so, well, a lot of guys were like, but I was looking for someone who looked like the girls in college. Yeah. You know where they were? In college. Who's mad? God. Michael Woolery, you listening? Who's mad? You just texted me. I'll have to look at that. What are you? I don't know. He's my head elder. I should peek at it. Oh, I need to look at that later. Stop texting me. Today, right now, this moment. Who's mad? Who's mad? Me? Me, the one who says do it when it makes sense? Or the world that says don't because money, because debt, you need it. You'll be in debt if you don't do it. What? Anyway, so marriage. Marriage. Where'd my list go? I moved my list away. Crap, I put it all away. There was one more on it. Madness. Who's mad? Matthew chapter 11, we learned that John the Baptist was mad. He came neither eating luxurious foods, nor drinking alcohol in public in any way, or really in any way, but no, he never drank alcohol. And the world said of him, he has a demon. Has a demon. The Son of Man came, eating and drinking. Jesus came. He drank. He had food, and they didn't like him either. He says, though, that wisdom is justified by her deeds. Also, it could be translated by her children. Time will tell. That's really what that means there. But, they did call Jesus mad too. After he said, I am the good shepherd who takes care of the sheep. I am the good shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. Well, there was division among those who heard him, and many of them said, he has a demon and is insane. Why listen to him? Others said, these are not the words of one who is oppressed by a demon. Well, isn't that the question now? For all of us Christians, I think it is. We see in Mark chapter 3 is family. I would include Mary in this. Some Lutherans, some Christians won't, but I think Mary's part of this too at this point. I think she's not quite understanding what's going on. In any case, it's early on. Jesus has huge crowds around him, so much so that it's tough for him to get a meal in. And when his family hears of it, they go out to seize him, for they were saying he is out of his mind. Paul has this happen to him too. He's on trial before King Agrippa. He makes his defense, uses every opportunity to speak in the entire gospel to tell people Jesus has risen from the dead. That's where he goes every time. He doesn't go into some sort of, prepared thing about how he's going to connect to your life and all this stuff. He does that once, and it doesn't really go any better. He generally just tries to get to, hey, guys, the guy's not dead. This is important. So in this one, he does talk about the history of Judaism because he's talking to a Jew. He's trying to convince this guy Agrippa, kind of a Jew, half a Jew, to believe. And he gets all to the point where he mentions that Christ is going to be the first to raise from the dead. And at that moment, Festus, who's a Gentile pagan, Roman king there, Roman governor, Pilate's replacement, he jumps up from his chair. So he's been listening, like seriously, okay, Paul's, he's making sense so far. This thing about the religion is really interesting and all this stuff. And then, wait, what? And he because it was, he said he rose from the dead. So he jumps up. Paul, you are out of your mind. Your great learning is driving you mad. You thought about this so long, you mad scientist, Professor Crazy Kook, that you don't even know what 2 + 2 means anymore. How could you say that? I was with you up till that. Paul said, I am not out of my mind, most excellent Festus. I am speaking true and rational words. The king knows about these things. I am persuaded none of these things escaped his notice, for they have not been done in a corner. King Agrippa, see, he just cares about King Agrippa. He thinks he's going to get him, and he almost does. King Agrippa, do you believe the prophets? I know that you believe. And Agrippa says, Paul, are you going to convince me to join your little cult so fast? Paul said, short or long, I don't care. I want to God. I want that God would, not just you, King Agrippa, all who hear me today, all who hear me ever, be exactly as I am in my little cult of crazy mad Christianity that believes Jesus has risen from the dead. Except for these chains, he says, holding up the shackles that bound him at that moment. First Corinthians, St. Paul writes about crazy. Best kind, worst kind, all of it. I'm going to translate it a little bit differently here. And we're getting toward a close. Let me check. How much time we got? Yeah. We're over time. That's all right. He says the word, I'm retranslating, right? We're 1 Corinthians 1:18 and following, but I'm going to retranslate, kind of paraphrase on the fly. The word of the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus is folly, is crazy to those who are dying in the world. But to we who are being resurrected in faith right now, that word of the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus is the Holy Spirit of the regenerative saving God. And he said this long ago. He said, I will destroy, I will annihilate the things which people think are wisdom. and the insight of the most perceptive in every age, I will bend and twist and thwart. Show me the man who can see past me. Where is the wisest one among you? Show me the man who has the clever, tricky argument to outwit me. Has not God made madness what the world calls sanity? And this is the sanity of God, that the world should never, did never, will never know God through sanity. No, it pleases God through madness, the madness of what we preach. Christ crucified, to regenerate, make alive again, to make sane those who believe. Yeah, mystics, they want miracles. They want signs. They want proof for their eyeballs. And rationalists, they want logic and arguments and science. But we've been given Jesus of Nazareth, dead on a cross and an empty tomb. A stumbling block to the mystic and madness to the rationalist. But to those who are regenerated by these words, whether you were mystic or rationalist, Messiah, the almighty essence of God and the sanity of God. For the insanity of God is more sane than the sanity of men, just as the powerlessness of God is stronger than the power of men. Now, Paul goes on in verse 26, and he says, consider what you were, brothers, Christians. How many of you were the most wise, the recognized thinker, the new atheist level, world famous, Sam Harris, right? Warren Buffett. How many of you are that? How many of you are powerful? Donald Trump. How many of you are noble? The Queen. That's not us, right? I mean, they can be, but generally not the majority. Well, yeah, that's part of this. God chose what is insane, what is weak, what is deprived, what is depraved in the world to shame the sane, the strong, the overcoming, the total, those who have all, those whose castles made of sand are the largest. God is shaming them by exposing the insanity of living in a sandcastle. He chose what is incapable in the world to shame the capable. He chose the bottom and the disloved in the world, even things that are poopy. I still want to say it. He chose the things that are the fecal matter in your toilet. It doesn't say that, but it is what he's getting at. The absolute trash. The worst of it all. There's nothing good to do with it except, well, I guess it would fix the soil, wouldn't it? Different topic. Even those things he chose, you, in order to turn into those things the things we think are so valuable. So that as a result of this, no man, it says, ESV would be a human being because of its need to placate the feminists. You know what? You can't placate feminist people. It won't work. But even so that no human, no person, no spawn of Adam can stand before God and say, I am good. That's why God has done all of this. Put the insanity upon the world and chosen we who can't seem to get out of it entirely to be his saved. And because of him, God doing this, the Father doing this, the one who made the first article, by the way, so it does work, just not to save. Because of him, you, baptized, are in Christ Jesus, who is now the sanity from God, the justice of God, the uniqueness of God, and the purchasing power of God. So if you are to boast, boast in him. Paul, when I came to you, I didn't come trying to tell you this with tricks, with new measures, with ways to kind of strong arm you or relativize, make relevant, make authentic what I'm saying with tricky, lofty, thoughtful speech and great sanity. So I'm not saying this, I'm going off script here. I'm not saying that any of this is like for us to use to trick people into Christianity. I'll talk about that in a moment. But no. When it comes down to it, the biggest problem we have, I mentioned the Lord's Supper already. I mean, we really don't ever say out loud that he is risen, except for on Easter Sunday, right? I've said this before. I mean, it's crazy. It drives me crazy. It was so hard for me to just keep saying it through Easter when no one else was saying it. It's like a cultural thing, man. Why don't we say that? That should like be what we say when we meet at a bar. For Thursday afternoon, he is risen. He is risen indeed. Hallelujah. Let's have a drink. But why don't we do that? It's better than hello. Anyway. I didn't come with tricks. I decided to know nothing except for this word of Jesus Christ. And then among you Corinthians, I was actually kind of nervous. There were people stoning people in the city at that point. Remember that? And I wasn't sure how to approach you, but I didn't want to drive you off. You were all pagans. You're all Greeks, right? It was weird. It was different. I like talking to Jews because I kind of know what I'm doing, but you guys you're weird. And so my speech and my message were, well, I know that they weren't crafted so as to make it seem better. Instead, the words were the demonstration of the Spirit and of power. Now, someone might say that means miracles. No, it does not. Not at this moment. His speech was in demonstration of the Spirit and of power. He spoke of Jesus and him crucified. And when people believe that without any signs or wonders, that's the demonstration of the Spirit. That is the crazy, mad, weak, foolish power of the Holy Spirit of God, that he converts people without signs and wonders, just by the word of Christ being killed and raised. So that, as a result, your faith might not rest in the sanity of men, but in the insanity of God. And, look, you who are insane in God's insanity now, you know that this is not unmature. This is not without sanity. It is the true sanity. This madness is the clear sight. It's only called madness because everyone else is blind. But among we who can see now, there's plenty of wisdom. It all makes sense. You can study the earth in ways that they can't even. I mean, they can to an extent, but they don't know why, and they always want to turn it into a religion. The biggest problem with most Eastern stuff, let's do the yoga one for a moment here, friends. The biggest problem with yoga is not that you get together in a dark room and you breathe and you stretch. That's not wrong. And the people who've been doing it for 2,000, 3,000 years, they're pretty good at it. What's wrong is that they don't believe in the first article and the second article being two different things. And so they can't help but take the first article and make it a religion. They have to. It's the only thing they can do. It's the only way they know how. Their brains are trapped in it. We don't have to do that. We're freed from that. We've been set free from the bondage of sin and death, which is worshiping the creature rather than the creator. So we can walk into that room. I don't know that I recommend it for everybody, especially depending on how well you know your faith, but you can sit in that dark room and stretch and breathe, and then when the lady goes, the energy in me will now reach to the energy in you, namaste, at the end, you can be like, that's some bull poopy. I'm just going to start saying bull poopy. That's some bull poopy. And then walk out. Because, they have just confused the first and the second articles, but you don't do that. You don't believe that. Now, what about the neophyte Christians? Like, but how can you do that? It's not Christian. Well, we should have these conversations, shouldn't we? We should be talking about it. That's my whole point. That's my whole point. There is a wisdom and a sanity that we have and can see as Christians once we've adopted the insanity of God, but it is not a sanity of this age or of the rulers of this age, who are doomed to pass away, which is not to say that there isn't a first article. It is simply to say that that article does not save, nor should we place our hope ultimately in that. But just as you should not reject the law, you antinomian. I mean, this is the argument. Just as you should not reject the law, you antinomian, neither should you reject what the first article does teach to be a reality, even though it is passing away. Yeah, it's doomed to pass away. Stretching is going to pass away. It will. Breathing will pass away. Eating well will pass away. In fact, the best part about eating, period, whether eating well or poorly, whether it tastes good, tastes bad, healthy, whatnot, it passes away in the moment that you've done it. That's like what it does. That's how it's designed to be. It's designed to pass away. And then, a little later, it passes away again. If you know what I'm saying, it turns into that some of that poopy. Yeah? Which in theory, the soil thing's so interesting. In theory, could be, rather than just flushed into places that is stored and creates problems like at the ends of rivers and things, it could be like used to fertilize the soil rather than the petroleum like nitrates, or I don't quite know how it works. Somehow we use like a petroleum, fossil fuel to fertilize the soil. That's odd. And then you have all the vegans that are like anti-Exxon, right? Anti-fossil fuels. Like, so eat vegan. But then the only way they're getting the vegan foods is through fertilizing the soil with like fossil fuels. And like ExxonMobil owns like most of their food that they sell. Who's crazy? Who's mad? Don't tell me. Well, no. I'm sorry. I was going to say, don't tell me I'm mad. No. Tell me I'm mad. You go ahead. Tell me I'm mad. I'm okay with it. If you're sane, I'm not talking to you, listener, right? But I'm looking at my window. If you're sane, I'm okay being mad. I really am. I'll be David. Blah, 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 blah. And my madness will be the word of God. And my belief that the word of God frees me to see these things and not have to hide from them. Be able to talk about them. Be willing to debate them. To be able to be wrong about them. To learn about them. And then on top of that, to impart in the midst of this and over this, actually under it, the platform on which we stand, a secret and hidden sanity of God, Jesus, right? Jesus. Decreed before the ages for our resurrection. Now the rulers understand this. It's the thing no eye has seen, no ear has heard. We can't even imagine grace. But that's what God has prepared for we who love him, being loved by him. We impart this in words not taught by human sanity, but taught by the Spirit, maybe the Bible. Understanding spiritual truths amongst and to and for those who are spiritual. Understanding what the Spirit says in the Scripture for the sake of our own spirituality and resurrection and regeneration and faith. And yes, the insane natural person, the one who's wise in the world's eyes, does not accept these things. It is all insanity to him. He's not able to understand them because the demonic spirit that he has believed, doesn't mean he's oppressed by a demon, but he has believed the lies of the devil, cause it to be discerned away from him. He calls it mad. Yet you who are spiritual in the word of God, having the fullness of Christ and eyes opened by these words which you know and understand. No, not just because you sit in church and give money. When you know and understand these things. Well, now you're judged by no one, and you may judge all things. All things. Luther said, if you know the first commandment, you know everything. Well, then shouldn't we be able to figure out how to talk about altered states of consciousness as a Christian? And when you go on your marathon and you get that big high at the end, was that idolatry? Well, no. Okay, so what are we going to say? January 1st here in Illinois, friends. And it's already happening in Colorado. I don't know. Maybe we'll just all brush over. But I think what I think that means is it means there's going to be a lot of people smoking pot and just not talking about it. Christians. Just don't tell anybody. And that ain't helpful. Imagine if we were doing it with alcohol. Everyone's drinking, no one's talking about it. That does not go well. Jeez. We can judge all things. And then if you would argue against this, well, how can you know what God thinks? That's the end of this here, verse 16. And who is to understand the mind of the Lord so as to instruct him? No. See, we know what God thinks. We do. He told us. We have the mind of Christ given here in these words. First, he's risen. Second, I'm the Son of the Father. Right? Third, I send the Spirit. There's your creed. I don't know if I even did what I wanted to do today. It was a long one, though. Let's see. How far are we? Hour and a half. Heavens, you might have to take an extra trip with this one yet. Drive a little more just to listen. I don't know. I'm the mad Christian, though. I know that now. I don't know. So I'm still contemplating with this. You're gonna be like, no. I'm really thinking about that just kind of being the handle on the podcast. Redfist.com is gonna stay redfist.com, but I like it. I like being the mad Christian. This makes me happy. I think that's pretty funny. Let's see if I can do that really well. Maybe that'll be the way I end every time. We'll see. I like being the mad Christian. This makes me happy.
Was that worth $1? What about $5? Click the Patreon link in the show notes to sign up. Pretty please?